So we're continuing our discussion of how to circumvent the fact that Ajax callbacks are asynchronous and how we can run some JavaScript after the target dialog has opened. So the dialog object, once it is opened, is going to be called MD_DLG object, and it too will exist in the global JavaScript namespace, which means that you can reference it by using the window object and then looking at the MD_DLG property of the window object. So if the dialog object is not undefined, in other words, if it currently exists, then we're going to just call the execute event method on that object, and we're going to execute the onRenderComplete event. So the onRenderComplete event of a dialog fires every time the dialog is rendered. So now let's go to the dialog and look at what we have in the onRenderComplete event. So let's save this down now and go to the dialog component, and so if we look here in the dialog component, you can see that we've got in the onRenderComplete event, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to see if we can find this global JavaScript variable. In other words, if it's not undefined. If it is undefined, then we just want to ignore all this code, so that you can see when I just go to working preview right now, that variable in fact is undefined, and so nothing happened. But if it's not undefined, which will be the case if this dialog was opened from the button on the grid object, then we can look inside this global variable and pick off the ID, which is the ID of the parent grid, and we can also pick off the row number, which was the current row number on the grid. So once we know what the parent grid object is, we can then actually get a pointer to the actual object by looking inside the global namespace. So that's window, and then using parent grid alias. So this now is a pointer to the parent grid, and this now is the row number on the parent grid that had focus. And here we just go and we read off the first name and last name value using the parent grid's get value method. So this is the standard get value method that the grid object has. And now we go into the dialog and we call its set value, and we set the value of A and B. So let's uncomment those two alerts so we can actually see them. Then let's save the dialog away and go now to the grid and run the grid and see this in action. So we'll go there, we'll save it, we'll give focus now to say row 3, and we'll click the button. So there you can see there's the first alert telling us that we were on row 3. There's the second alert giving us the object name of the parent grid, which in fact is correct here. And then you can see we went and we filled in Janet Rebo, which was the values that we read from that control over there. So now let's close this down and click on another row. So now this time when I click on this button, the dialog already exists, and so therefore the code that is testing to see whether the dialog object exists is true, and so now we force the on grid render event to fire. So there you can see it's firing, and there we have it. So we're able to fill in those fields. So in effect, we have now from a single action button invoked sequential commands, in effect waiting for the dialog to open before we try to populate it. I hope you found this useful. Thanks very much.